Welcome to the Scar Release Podcast. Join Cody Byrns as he talks with many thought leaders who have encountered trauma and other life difficulties, and yet they haven't allowed it to stop them from giving hope to others. Through this podcast, our wish is to embolden every listener. No matter your story, you can live a life of freedom and fulfill your purpose. Here is your host, Cody Byrns.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Scar Release Podcast. Today, I am very excited to have an awesome guest all the way from Los Angeles, California. She is a blessing. I know that you're going to love her. I'm going to read her bio here. Her name is Amberly Lago. I said that correct?
You did. You're awesome.
Okay, good. Amberly Lago is a health and wellness coach, a TEDx speaker, and a leading expert in the field of resilience and transformation. She is a best-selling author of True Grit and Grace and empowers people around the world by sharing her story of how she turned tragedy into triumph. Through her book, coaching methods, and workshops, she has curated unique tools to teach others how to tap into their superpower of resilience and persevere through any of life's challenges. She offers hope and solutions for anyone like her living in chronic pain to live life to the fullest. Amberly has most recently been featured on NBC's The Today Show, The Doctors, Hallmark, Good Morning Lalaland, contributed to magazines such as Shape, Fit Pregnancy, Health, and Disability magazine. Amberly, I am so honored to have you. How are you doing today?
Oh, thank you. I'm so just grateful to be here. Especially, you reading all, my bio and everything. I have to remember, today marks 10 years ago that my motorcycle accident happened. And it's been such a journey. And you and I were talking about beforehand, you're like, yeah, I watched your TED Talk and I was like, oh, thank you. I was like, that was the scariest thing I've ever done. One of the scariest things. But, I think sometimes we should include in our bio, like just how many failures we've had to do the things that we do. Cause it's every day getting up and deciding that you want to, be resilient and overcome a lot. Even technical difficulties and stuff, or, I'm sitting here in my home office and I'm like, can you hear the neighbor's gardener? Can you hear what's going on? So hopefully they won't get too rowdy and you'll be able to hear okay, or else I might have to move into my closet like we talked about.
Well, whatever makes you comfortable, and I just want to compliment you and say that you look fantastic. And
you're so sweet. You're an inspiration.
Well, likewise, my goodness, we're both, and that's what I think is so cool. Like looking up your story, and I just want to make sure that all the viewers and listeners understand this. This woman is an incredible speaker. She's written a best-selling book, but her TEDx talk is very, very good. And I invite anyone to go on YouTube and look that up and watch it. Well, first of all, before I say too much, I want you to kind of dive in a little bit deeper on your story, because there's so much we can pull away from. And there's a lot that I can relate with my own experience.
Mm-hmm.
But like we had talked previously, every story is different, and everyone captures different takeaways and lessons. And so that's why I love this. And I love the opportunity to be able to talk with you today. So if you wouldn't mind, just give us a little bit of a background of, where you grew up and what brought you to where you are today.
Yeah, it was interesting when I was writing my book. It's a whole process of they'll design the front cover and the back cover. And when they finally gave me the full book, my husband was reading the back of it, and where it tells about the book, and it talks about wanted to, reclaim my dignity and overcome things and overcome, sexual abuse and physical abuse and all this. And my husband said, it talks about sexual abuse on the cover. I'm like, well, yeah, it's in the book. And so, I grew up in Texas, and most of us don't have perfect childhood. I have amazing parents. My mom and dad and I were really close, and I, make sure I take a trip back to Texas at least twice a year to visit. But growing up, it was not always easy because, I come from a middle-class family, but there were times when, we didn't know if we were going to be able to celebrate Christmas with presents or things like that. But back then also, your neighbors were really good neighbors. Like there were times when we weren't going to have Christmas and someone, I think it was from the church, put a box of money. And so that year, my parents could afford to, you know, give us presents that year. And I know it's not all about gifts. That's not what it's about. But when you're a kid, it makes a little more special. But when my parents divorced, my mom remarried my stepfather, who he was the one who sexually abused me. So I did what my default was, because I had so much shame and so much fear. I didn't feel safe. So I lived at the dance studio because that's where I felt good. That's where I felt safe. And my default was to do whatever I could to make myself feel better. And so luckily I had an outlet of, I was really, into school. Like I was, class president, I was a cheerleader, I was on drill team, I was in track. I mean, whatever there was to do in school, I wanted to try to do my best at. And dance was also my outlet. And so I was at the dance studio until, every day or 6 days a week. And that I knew from an early age that I wanted to leave Texas and pursue my dreams as a dancer, which, they weren't very supportive of when I had a partial scholarship to UCLA. And that was like, yeah, I'm going to go to college. But I knew deep down that I wanted to get this one scholarship that you could audition for. They had a yearly audition for a scholarship at a dance studio. And that was ultimately my goal and my dream, was to move to LA. And this, as silly as it sounds, even now, like my dream was to be on music videos, because I grew up in a time where MTV started and we had, night tracks on TV. So you saw all these people dancing in music videos. And so I was like, I want to dance. I want to move to LA. And so I did. I worked 4 jobs to save up enough money. It was about $1,200 in total, and packed up my little Suzuki Samurai and off I went, against a lot of, like I remember my stepmom, the last thing she said to me was, I think you're making a big mistake. And my mom was like, well, why are you packing all of your things? You're going to be back in 2 weeks. And here it is 30 years later, and I'm still here. And a month after I moved to LA, I was booked on my first music video, which was with MC Hammer. So that was like a dream come true, to be with MC Hammer. I was the token white girl, So for anybody listening, I just want to say that no matter how big or how scary or how silly other people might see your dreams, if you believe in those dreams and you work as hard as you can to achieve those dreams, anything is possible. And so just really, I wanted to follow my heart and my passion, and I still do that, Even with writing a book, it was like, people are like, oh, you want to write a book? You didn't even graduate from college. How are you going to do that? Even when I did my TED Talk, I was the only speaker that didn't have a PhD. And I was a little insecure about that. Okay. I was really like insecure about that and scared, because I was going to be speaking to a bunch of, scientists and doctors and students. And so, but I believed in my message strong enough. So I think that as long as we believe in something wholeheartedly, anything is possible.
Oh my goodness, that is powerful, and there's so much truth to that. And I know, as you're sharing your story, I'm looking back at my childhood. I always had a dream to juggle and to be doing the comedy and stuff. And I pursued that. People was like, "Oh, Cody, come on, when are you going to grow up?" But when you're passionate about something and you're just determined, and believing in yourself is so important, and knowing that it's possible. So I love that. You're a great example of that. And working with MC Hammer, my goodness, not everyone can say that.
Yeah, it was fun. It was incredible. It was like really a dream come true. And I like that you brought up believing in yourself, because there was a time when I didn't believe in myself, and I think in those times, if, you're listening, you're like, well, how do you believe in yourself? Sometimes, so I pursued my dance career, then it led me into a fitness career, and I was nationally recognized as a fitness coach and was doing infomercials with Body by Jake, and I had trainers that worked for me, and that was my whole life was dancing and fitness, and my passion was running, and along with working with people and seeing their dreams come true, um, but when I had my motorcycle accident, I my life changed drastically. I didn't know how drastically it would change. Just in a second, your whole life can change. And I was riding home from work on my motorcycle, hit by an SUV, and my leg was completely crushed. I was rushed to the hospital, put in induced coma. And when I woke up, they said, well, we're going to have to amputate your leg. You've got a 1% chance of saving it. And it's basically like a war wound. There's nothing we can do. Your femoral artery severed. It's just completely crushed. And I hung on to that 1%. And that was that glimmer of hope. That's what helped me believe that, okay, 1%, it's 1%, but that means there's a possibility. And I think that when we're going through hard times, we need to believe in that even if it's a 1% glimmer of hope, if we can believe in that. But then there was a time, I had ended up having 34 surgeries to save my leg from amputation, and I was in the hospital for months, and then came home and had a hospital bed in the middle of the living room and was there for months. And I remember going back to one of my doctors, and I love this man. He was the one who repaired my femoral artery in the hospital. And he basically saved my life. I mean, by putting together my femoral artery, because you can bleed out, but he also he saved my leg, because without that femoral artery being repaired, they for sure wouldn't have been able to save it. So I'm in there, and I was so proud because I was finally on crutches, and I'd have to walk a little bit and then sit back and put my leg up because it was so damaged. The blood and the pain, the blood would get stuck in the bottom of my leg, and the pain would be so severe. So everywhere I went, I would have to sit down and then hold my leg up like this. And people would look at me funny, but that was the only way I could get relief. And so I was sitting in the office, this doctor's office, Dr. Razul, and he comes in and he talks to me, he checks me out, and you could tell he looked at me like, oh my gosh, because I put on this red dress and I dressed up, and I'm in there and I looked like I had been at battle. So for him to see me for the first time, not laying in a hospital bed, he got really emotional. And I'm getting emotional just thinking about it. And I had written him a letter to thank him for basically saving me. And he said, well, I tell you what, when you get off those crutches, I want you to save a dance for me. And I thought, wow, that he believed in me. And that helped me believe in myself a little more, like, oh, I will dance. I'll dance again. Well, it took years. In fact, I don't know if you do TikTok, but my daughter loves TikTok. And I said, well, maybe I should do TikTok. She goes, Mom, you're too old for TikTok. You do not need to be on TikTok. And I said, well, by golly, I am getting on TikTok. If she says I'm too old for it, I'm going to do it. So the first video, I put my tap shoes on. This is last month. My tap shoes for the first time. I didn't know if I'd still be able to tap because my ankles fused, my legs deformed. I'm still in a lot of pain. Well, I had just had another foot surgery the week before. It was a minor surgery. And my foot was still swollen and in pain. And I was trying to squeeze these tap shoes on. And she goes, Mama, I don't know if you're going to be able to put that shoe on. I don't think those fit. And I was like, I am going to make this fit. So I stuffed my foot in this shoe, and I just propped the camera up. First try, put on some music and danced, and I uploaded it on TikTok. It has 300,000 views on that one video because I put this. I didn't know if I could do it. This is the first time I've put my tap shoes on and danced. And it's not real great. It's not real pretty. I'm dancing on tile. But I always say, it's not about perfect. It's about progress.
Mm.
And it might take a while, but if you take just little steps every day, you can get closer to your dreams. And I think everything we do is either working for us or against us. And so, I always ask myself throughout the day, is this helping me or is this hurting me? And I think that's really key in being resilient is if you put your focus on, is this helping me or is this hurting me? Are my thoughts helping me or are they hurting me? Am I getting stuck in that, self-limiting beliefs of, oh, I don't deserve to do this TED talk, I'm not smart enough, or am I focusing on, what my why? I think that's what really helps me get through fear and get through a lot of self-limiting beliefs is focusing on my why I want to do something. Well, it's not about me. It's because I really want to show other people that they can overcome hard times and they can get through those hard times.
Wow. Got to let that process because there's a lot. Uh,
I'm sorry. I just start
no,
rambling on, don't
no,
I?
I love it. I love
I
it.
start rambling on.
I could listen to you all day. I love this. No, there's so many good things in that. And I love the fact that you're continuing to pursue. And first of all, your story, and when all that happened, so you're actively doing stuff. And then, like you said, in just 1 second, your entire life as you knew it could change. And there
Mhm.
you were in that moment in the hospital and broken. You was put into the coma and then waking up out of that coma to realize that what happened to your leg. And in that moment, it's like everything you had dreamed for seems like it just comes to an end, or you have that, it grips you and you're like, is it over? That's it. I didn't see this coming. This has happened. This is my new reality. But that 1% chance, I love that. And that's a powerful message if anyone can grasp that. It just takes that 1% chance. Faith as a mustard seed, if we want to put it in those
Mhm.
terms. And believing and knowing that it's possible. When all odds are against you, believe, trust, have faith. And you are a prime example of that. And, you talk about how you have pain on a daily basis and getting through that. And yeah, even with the dancing, it may not be, what they would call perfect, but really there's no perfect thing out there. But it's the message behind it that speaks volumes. And so I'm trying to not ramble myself, but there's a lot I caught and I love it. So I'll talk about the pain here for a second, because there's a lot of people that have encountered trauma in their life, and not just physical, but there's the emotional side of pain too,
Mhm.
which I want to dive in a little bit too as well, because I
And I'm
talk.
glad you said that. I'm glad you said that because pain is pain and it brings up a whole array of emotions from anxiety to fear to depression. And it's a roller coaster. And living in chronic pain daily, that was my hardest challenge. Yeah, 34 surgeries is a lot. It was a lot to get through. It was hell. There were moments that I thought, how am I going to do this? But it's when I was diagnosed with CRPS, which complex regional pain syndrome, which leaves me in constant chronic pain every day. That is when I hit rock bottom. And when I say rock bottom, I want to just say it. My rock bottom was I went from being the extreme athlete and successful career and confident in this, big life to I was drinking every day to try to self-medicate. My world got really small. I didn't even have enough energy or courage to pick up the phone. I mean, it took every ounce of energy and courage to finally pick up the phone and ask for help. So my rock bottom was I lost it all. I lost my career. I lost my identity really because my self-worth was all based around what I did, what I provided, and what I looked like, as shallow as that sounds. And so, yeah, I had to really adapt to this is my new normal, and it's going to be every day I'm going to have pain, and I'm going to have to decide to get through that. And so I'm so glad that you brought up the emotional part of pain, because it can be scary.
Yeah. And I think a lot of times people, I'm glad you brought up the identity part too, because I know within what I went through, okay, I had this identity. Okay, I'm a children's speaker. I was speaking, traveling, doing the juggling thing, comedy. And then all of a sudden, my hands were severely burnt. They wanted to amputate a few of my fingers. I still to this day can't move them like I used to, but I can still juggle and do stuff. But out of that, still my identity is gone. What I was known for, these
So you
skills,
get
my
it.
ability, absolutely. And it can be very traumatizing, causes depression. You're like, okay, now what do I do? And that's where you kind of have to refocus on just loving yourself, more so than what your talents and your abilities, and who do you.
You start from scratch.
Yes,
You start
exactly.
from the bottom up, and you go, okay, am I still, it was, am I still worthy as a mom, even though I can't chase after my children right now, even though I can't cook them a meal right now? Um, am I still worthy to be my husband's wife? Because I'm certainly not this isn't the woman that he married. Like, I went through all those thoughts, and I had to really work hard and dig deep to really feel worthy again and gain my confidence again. And confidence and resilience isn't something that you just have and then it's there. It's like a muscle. It's like going to the gym and strengthening your body and getting strong physically. Resilience and confidence is something that you have to work on every day. And as long as you can build a solid foundation for it, when something unexpected come up, or things don't go as planned, you're not going to be down for as long. You're going to have the tools to get through that and thrive despite whatever comes your way. It's kind of like, going through COVID right now, as we sit in this COVID. A lot of people, understandably so, are freaking out because they've lost their jobs. They're in fear for their health, for their finances. They don't know what to do. And for the most part, I mean, believe me, I've had my moments of, seriously, how much longer are we going to be locked down like this? But for the most part, because I have been through so many uncertainties already, I've been able to I have a set of tools. I have things that I use every day. So I can adapt and pivot my business and get through these times. And we all can. I'm not special. There's nothing special about me. I just know, okay, if this doesn't work, I can try this. And so that's what I really try to share with others through the talks that I give, through like I did a resilience challenge that I was doing every day. And I was talking about it, and that's the beauty of social media, that we can connect through Instagram or Facebook or LinkedIn or Twitter or whatever it may be, that we can all come together and support each other. And so that's what I try to really share, these tools. That's what my TED Talk was about, overcoming the pain. But like I said, pain's pain. So if it's not physical pain, what kind of pain is it? Is it, pain you're feeling because you're unhappy in your marriage? Is it pain you're feeling because you're unhappy with yourself right now, and it pains you to see that you're not doing the exercises and you're eating chips on the sofa during this COVID? Because boy, that sure is easy to do. That's
Yeah.
really easy to do.
Yes, it is.
I've busted myself a few times, but the good thing is we get to start over every day. Every day is a new day, and we can start again, and we can break that cycle of bad habits. It's so much about these daily habits. It's not even really about that big goal. Like, if I would have thought, when I was laying in the hospital bed, if somebody would have told me, well, you're going to need 34 surgeries to get through this and save your leg, I probably would have given up. I probably would have been like, oh, that's too much. I can't even do that. But when I focused on, I have to get through today. So I'm going to eat the best that I can and eliminate sugar from my diet, because that really infection feeds on the sugar. If I can eat as healthy as I can, if I can really put all my focus on what I'm grateful for in my life, instead of focusing on, is today the day they're going to amputate? Am I going to die? Am I going, because the list goes on of all the worries that I could have focused on. Instead, I chose to focus on, I'm so grateful to be alive. I have a view from my hospital window. I had my friend Nancy come to see me today in the hospital. I can still, talk to my clients over the phone. So it's really what we put our focus on.
Yeah. Oh, and I am right there with you 100%. And there's, and I like basically in what you were saying is basically start with what's in front of you. I think sometimes we look at the big picture and we can become so overwhelming. Oh, I've got so
Mm-hmm.
long to go. But just breaking it down, take deep breaths, know that you're going to get through it, but start with what's in front of you. Start with
Mm-hmm.
today and appreciating life. And, there is so much. And I think, before what happened to me, I was 23 when I went through that. And, you're young, you're active, you're fit, you're traveling, you have your looks. I'm not a model by any means. Who am I kidding? Yes, I am. I'm joking.
Yes, you are.
Bless you. Thank you, sister. But, but you have all of those things going for you. And it's like, just like in the instant, everything changes. You have to really refocus on what is most important in life and
Mm-hmm.
appreciate the small things. And I think that is key with helping anybody get through and being resilient. What would you, I was going to say, go
No,
for it.
I was going to say, and it's one thing, people talk about being grateful. And some days it's harder to be grateful, especially when, I'm having a really hard time with chronic, the burning pain, or I'm struggling with technology or whatever it may be. But I start every day with grateful. And it's one thing to say I'm grateful for something, but it's another thing to really feel it. And so what I do every single day is, no matter how busy my day is, no matter even if I have a late start, I always start my day with gratitude, and I will write down what I'm grateful for. And then I have an accountability partner, and we write to each other and tell each other what we're grateful for every single day. And then I end my day with gratitude, and I have this glass gratitude jar, and my daughter and I write down on a card what was the best part of the day, what we're grateful for. We put it on, so it sets your intentions and really keeps your focus. So if you can really talk about it, write it down, and feel it, that's when, I promise it transforms your life. It's alchemy. It really turns what we can't do into what we can do, and what we don't have into what we do have.
Yes. And I love that. And, there's often, this is where some people, will say there's power in words. And oftentimes we won't feel, but I think what we say to ourselves, we can tell ourselves something. We can work both ways, positive or negative. But if you want to live a positive life, or you want to feel good about yourself, start saying good things about yourself, just like what you're saying, journaling, writing these things out, and eventually it's going to stick. And then you're going to begin to feel it, and like, you know what, I am this. And so it's like telling yourself who you are. And out of that,
You're right.
comes the confidence that you need, and the boldness to be able to take on your day and live the life that you've always wanted to live.
Mm-hmm. I really think that's powerful.
Yeah.
And sometimes I always say, just say it and write it and affirm it until you do believe it. And then our beliefs start to fall into lead us to our actions, and then our actions start to change our life.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. This is so good. And so, I'm trying to think of, because we've hit a lot here, but there's so much I could break down with you.
Yeah, and I've just been talking
No,
your ear off. I'm
no,
sorry.
no, don't apologize, because I love it, because this is so good. This is so good. So we talked about the emotional pain, the basically I would talk, say the emotional scars and getting through those sides. And now you have the physical scars too. And let me just say as well, looking at your TED Talk video, your leg, and I don't want this to sound inappropriate because I have scars too, but you couldn't hardly even tell unless you're really seeing, like you look good. I couldn't tell until, if you start, it's one of those things, if you focus on it, you can
Yeah.
physical appearance, I guess is what I'm wanting to break down.
Yeah.
Getting through that.
It's funny. There was this one day, my girlfriend and I were at the spa, and we were like we try to do that once a year, go to the spa, and we were hanging out by the pool, and I have on a bikini, and there's like a couple of guys by the pool, and I'm walking back to my chair, and I could see their eyes. They started at the top, and I could see their eyes like scrolling down, and I was like, oh, they're going to be so shocked. They're going to be. And then as soon as they got to my leg, the look on their face was like, oh. And then they turned around, and it took me a long time, years, in fact, before I could wear a bikini again. Because I had one of my doctors was like, oh, well, you'll never wear shorts again, and you'll probably never run again. And that, I thought, that is one of my biggest motivational moments, is I kept that tucked away, and I would think about that, and I'd be like, no, I am going to run again, and I will wear shorts again. In fact, I'm going to wear a bikini. And so it took a long time, but when I was able to finally accept my scars, and I had the help of someone that helped me with that. It actually was the doctor, Dr. Wiss, who, I love this man. He's the one that did all the surgeries. He is a freaking superhero. He never gave up on me. In fact, when I had broken some titanium in my leg, he had to go in and do a 10-hour surgery to take out the broken pieces, and then put a wound back on it to let the swelling go down, and then do another 4-hour surgery just to close it up. And most doctors had a hard time getting the rod in because it was so deformed. Most doctors, Annie had to get it just the right length, because if it wasn't the right length, I would have one leg longer than the other one. And so he didn't give up on me. And God, this man, sometimes we need somebody to believe in us. And I went in for my doctor's appointment. And at this point, after my recovery, I really hated my leg. I hated the way it looked. I hated that it gave me so much pain. I'd asked them if they could go ahead and amputate it after 34 surgeries, because I was like, this just didn't working for me. We need to go ahead and get rid of this. And they're like, well, we can't amputate. It could make your CRPS worse. So I went in and I sat down in his office, and he sat down in front of me, and he had his white jacket on. He sits down in front of me, and he takes my leg and he puts it in his lap. And I hated my leg so much that I thought, one of my thoughts was, oh my gosh, like, why would he put this on his nice white jacket? And he looked at my leg, and he touched it, and he looked at it like it was a piece of art, like it was his masterpiece. He had spent hours and hours putting this leg back together, along with another surgeon that had to move my calf to the front of my leg, do a muscle graft, and take the skin from the top of my leg and put it on the bottom leg. And when he looked at it like that, I thought, well, maybe I can learn to look at it like that too. Maybe I can learn to love it. And something shifted in me. And every day I was able to look at it as more of a, gosh, look at what I survived. Look at what I made it through. I beat that 99% chance of amputation. It's a 1% chance. This leg is titanium. Or, even when my husband's kidding around, or we're like goofing off doing something, he was like, uh-oh, did I hit the bad leg? And I'm like, the bad leg? Shoot, this leg is titanium. This is the $2 million leg right here. It was like, it's all what we say and how we look at it. And for anybody listening, or maybe watching the YouTube video, if you're sitting there and you're like, oh, I would never show my scars, or, oh, I hate my scars, or the way I look. I promise you, when you learn to gradually start giving yourself, loving that a little bit more, you're going to be so proud of what you went through to get to where you are. And if you can look at it as a celebration of what you survived, you're going to just, it's free, it's freedom, so. And believe me, it took a long time to get there. And if I would have, even 2 years after my accident, if I would have posted a video on TikTok and seen some of the comments that I have read, it would have crushed me. Because, people are like, oh my God, your leg is so deformed. Oh my gosh, those scars. Oh, it looks like a really old person. And I'm like, dude, I am an old person. But I wouldn't have been able to see all those comments. I wouldn't have been able to, they would have really hurt me. So Brene Brown says something powerful. She says, make sure you share from a scar and not an open wound.
Ooh, that's
And
good.
I think that it's important to share your struggles with someone that you can really trust. And I'm not saying go out there and just share with the world what you're going through and your deepest, darkest secrets. But if you can share your deepest, darkest secrets with someone that you love, and especially if they've gone through what you've been through, and they give you hope because they're like, well, they went through that, I know I can get through it. It's magic, because it gives you hope. It gives you a sense of you're not alone. And I want people to know they're not alone, because I felt so alone. I was so alone, and nobody understood what I was going through. Nobody could understand my pain. And that's what led me down a road of despair. But when you can reach out to somebody and share your struggles, you build your community, you build your strength. Your vulnerabilities become your strength. So if you can do one thing today, and if there's one thing you can take away from our talk today, just you and I talking back and forth, if somebody's listening, please, if you're struggling, reach out to somebody and share that. Reach out to me. I answer all my DMs, all my emails. At Amberly Lago Motivation is usually where I am the most on Instagram. Who knows, maybe I'll be on TikTok now more. You never know.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Amber, you are amazing. And I am so grateful to be able to connect with you.
Oh, thank
And,
you.
and I brought up the physical thing too, because I have a lot of friends that have scars, whether they be burn survivors or they've gone through tragic accidents or what have you. But that's powerful. And so many people need to be comfortable and celebrate their scars and wear them proudly. So I'm glad you shared that. Yes, and I want people to be sure and get in touch. You have a book, True Grit and Grace, and is that available? That's available on Amazon, or where they go to your
Yeah.
website?
I think the easiest way, I mean, you're welcome to visit my website at amberlylago.com, because I do have some free gifts and stuff like that you can download, because gratitude's big in my life. So I have like a free gratitude journal, and also some other like workbooks and stuff that are easy to download that are free. But so you can go to my website and find everything there, amberlylago.com, or probably this day and age, it's just easy to click on Amazon. I used to say, or in your local bookstore, but most bookstores are closed right now. They are here in LA anyway. But yeah, and reach out to me. Like I said, I hang out mostly on Instagram at Amberly Lago Motivation, and I would love to hear from you.
Yes. Well, I know that I will be sure and follow you on Instagram. And I do want to continue to keep in contact with you. You're a blessing. And I encourage everyone to reach out to Amberly and just follow her stuff, get her book. And I also stress again, her TED Talk on YouTube. It's amazing.
Oh,
Be
thank
inspired.
you.
And yes. And thank you so much for
Thank you.
taking
Thanks for
time.
having me on.
Oh, my
And I want to
goodness.
have you on my podcast too.
Oh, I would be
We'll make
honored.
that happen, because I
Okay.
really want to share your story.
Oh, thank you so much, Amberly. You are a blessing.
Oh,
And
thank you.
I too, just everybody at home that's watching or listening to this, I hope this did encourage you, and know that there is hope. Believe in yourself, and don't be afraid to conquer your dreams. And I really hope that you got something from this. And I know you had to. I would say it would be impossible to not listen to this, or to listen to this and not take away anything, because there's so much good stuff here. But I hope to see you all back here for the next episode of the Scar Release Podcast. You guys are amazing. Love you.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Scar Release. Please be sure to subscribe and tell your friends. And remember, no matter what scars you carry, there is hope, and you can live a life of freedom.